My name is Jordan, and 3 years ago, my family moved into what we thought was our dream home in rural Pennsylvania. We'd been searching for months before this place appeared. 4 bedrooms, 2 stories, a big yard, and a wraparound porch, all for way below market value. Vintage with charm, the listing said. The previous owners, an elderly couple, had died within months of each other. No one had lived there since. At first, it was everything we wanted. Quiet neighborhood, woods surrounding the property, and space for our kids to run free. But our first night there, something felt wrong. It started with small things. The kitchen faucet turning on by itself. Our 5-year-old daughter, Mia, saying she didn't like her room because the old lady sits in the corner. We brushed it off. Kids have vivid imaginations. Then came the noises. Late at night, we'd hear scratching inside the walls. We assumed pests, raccoons or mice, so we called pest control. They found no droppings, no holes, nothing. Yet the night they left, the sounds returned, louder than before. One night around 2 a.m., I woke to whispering. I thought maybe my wife was talking in her sleep, but she was still. The whispers came from the hallway, always just out of sight. When I opened our bedroom door, the space was empty, but the whispering lingered, fading only when I stepped into the hall. About 2 weeks in, we were eating dinner when the chandelier above our table began to shake violently. The bulbs flickered erratically, casting strange shadows on the walls. I jumped up, ready to grab it if it fell, but the moment I stood, it froze, dead still. My wife looked pale. The kids were silent. That night, Mia refused to go to bed. She cried, saying the old lady wouldn't stop staring at her. When I pressed her for details, she described a woman in a black dress, with long gray hair and no eyes, only deep black holes where they should be. The description made my skin crawl. I set up a baby monitor in her room. For hours, nothing happened. Then, at 3:17 a.m., the screen went to static. When the image returned, a figure stood in the corner, exactly as Mia described, still, watching. Mia sat up in bed, eyes closed, sleepwalking. She turned toward the figure, raised her hand, and pointed. The feed cut to black. We rushed in. Mia was asleep, alone. The next day, I called a local priest. The second he stepped inside, his face went pale. He said the house felt heavy. He blessed each room, burning incense and praying. For 2 days, the house was quiet. Then, things escalated. Doors slammed on their own. Shadows slithered across the walls at night. Mia stopped speaking entirely. She wouldn't eat. She spent hours staring out her bedroom window toward the woods. One night, I woke to the sound of the front door creaking open. I ran downstairs. The door stood wide open. Outside, Mia was walking barefoot across the lawn toward the trees. I scooped her up. Her skin was ice cold. She looked right at me and whispered, "She said we live here now." All of us. Then she went limp in my arms. That was it. The next morning, we packed what we could fit in our SUV and left. We stayed with my brother for a month. I listed the house again, not caring about the loss. 2 months later, my real estate agent called. A young couple had bought it. They loved the vintage charm. 3 weeks later, the house burned to the ground. No faulty wiring, no gas leaks. The fire marshal listed the cause as undetermined origin. The couple wasn't home when it happened. They lost everything, but survived. Sometimes I wonder if the house did it on purpose. If it couldn't keep them, it destroyed itself instead. Mia's better now. She doesn't remember much. But sometimes when she's really tired, she'll say, "I wonder if the lady found a new house." And I get that same cold feeling every time, because I don't think she ever left us. My name's Daniel, and this happened in 2019 when my wife and I bought our first house in upstate New York. It was a steal, 3 bedrooms, a finished attic, and a big yard for our dog. The only catch? The previous owners sold fast and didn't leave much explanation. The house was perfect, except for the smallest bedroom. The moment we walked in, I noticed it was colder than the rest of the place. It had a faint smell, like mildew mixed with something metallic. My wife said it felt weird and decided we'd just use it for storage. For the first week, nothing happened. But our dog, Max, would sit outside that room every night, staring at the door, ears pinned back. Sometimes he'd whine, sometimes growl. One night I was up late unpacking in the living room when I heard creaking upstairs. I figured my wife had gotten up, until I saw her asleep on the couch. The footsteps moved from the hall to that cold bedroom, then stopped. When I went up to check, the door was open. We always kept it closed. Inside, the air was freezing. I shut the door, brushed it off, and told myself old houses make noises. But then came the whispers. Around 2 or 3 a.m., I'd hear faint voices through the vents. Not TV, not neighbors. This was different. Low, fast, like someone muttering in another language. Every time I tried to listen, it stopped. 3 weeks in, my wife told me she woke up in the middle of the night to see a man standing in the hallway, just outside the cold room, facing her. She blinked, and he was gone. I didn't tell her, but I'd seen the same thing 2 nights before. Tall, thin, wearing what looked like a dark coat. We finally decided to open the room during the day and clear it out, thinking maybe sunlight and airflow would help. When I moved an old shelving unit the previous owners had left, I found deep scratches in the wood floor, like someone had dragged heavy furniture away from the wall repeatedly. That night, the door to the cold room slammed shut at exactly 3 a.m. The sound was so loud it woke both of us and Max, who barked frantically. When I tried to open it, it wouldn't budge, like someone was holding it from the other side. 2 minutes later, it swung open by itself. The room was colder than I'd ever felt it, and in the dust on the floor were fresh footprints. Bare, human, leading from the wall to the doorway. We called the previous owners the next day. At first, they didn't want to talk. Finally, the husband told me, "The room belonged to my brother. He stayed with us for a while, but he changed, got paranoid, said the room wasn't his anymore. One morning, we found him gone. The police never found him." I'm Eric, and I swear on my life, what I'm about to tell you is 100% real. My wife and I bought our first house in the summer of 2021, just outside of Portland. It wasn't fancy. 3 bedrooms, outdated kitchen, old carpet, but it had potential. More importantly, it was within our budget. The seller was an older guy who looked exhausted when we met him. I remember asking why he was selling. He hesitated, then said, "This house needs new energy." I thought it was just an old man's weird way of saying he was ready to move on. We moved in the next week. The first night, we noticed the strange sound in the vents. We were lying in bed, and this soft, whispery static came through the vent above our heads. I thought maybe it was the central air kicking on, even though the system was off. The next night, it happened again, but this time, there were words. Faint, unclear, but definitely voices. I leaned in closer, trying to make it out. It sounded like someone repeating the same thing over and over. Something like, "Don't look in the walls." My wife said it was probably just old ductwork making noise. I agreed, even though I knew that wasn't it. A few days later, we noticed cold spots in the hallway. The thermostat was fine, no drafts, but certain areas of the house would drop by 10 degrees instantly. One day, our dog stopped dead in the middle of the hallway, stared up at the vent, and let out a low growl. Then he ran into the bathroom and refused to come out. I still tried to rationalize everything. I was stressed from work. Maybe I was hearing things. Then came the knocking. It always started around 3:10 a.m., 3 soft knocks from inside the wall behind our bed. Not on the wall, inside it. Like someone was trapped inside and tapping to be let out. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed a flashlight and unscrewed the vent cover in the hallway. I reached inside and felt around, and my hand brushed something cold. I yanked it out. It was a piece of paper, a torn photo, just the bottom half of a girl's face, mouth open, like she was screaming. We called the police. They searched the house from top to bottom. In the crawl space, they found something. Behind a loose wall panel, there were bones, human remains, small, likely female, maybe 14 or 15 years old. No ID, no clothes, just bones. The detective who came to question us said something I'll never forget. "You're not the first owners to report strange noises." The previous owner, he lost his wife here, claimed she started going crazy, said she heard voices in the walls too. Thought she was losing her mind. I asked what happened to her. The detective looked uncomfortable, then said, "She disappeared. Never found her body." We moved out 2 days later. Sometimes, in the dead of night, I still hear the phrase in my head, "Don't look in the walls." And I wonder, what would have happened if I hadn't?